Welcome the Lord's chosen. Lower your voice, slow your breathing, and whatever you do, don't let them realize how far ahead you already are. Because the moment people sense you're thinking 3 moves deeper than them, the room changes, not louder, not dramatic, just different. Smiles tighten, jokes feel forced. Eyes start studying you the way people study a locked safe, trying to figure out the combination. Here's something most people never notice. In high-pressure environments, negotiations, interrogations, military simulations, crisis rooms, the person who speaks the least and observes the most consistently controls the outcome. Not the loudest, not the strongest, the calmest processor. That's not motivation talk, that's behavioral psychology. Stillness wins, and that's where you make people uncomfortable. Because you don't play life the way everyone else does. You don't rush to explain yourself. You don't overshare. You don't panic when things get tense. You don't chase attention like it's oxygen. You just watch. You calculate. You adjust. While everyone else is emotionally swinging like a broken door in the wind, you're sitting there like you already read the script. And let's be honest, that freaks people out a little. Not because you're doing anything dramatic, but because you're not. See, most people telegraph everything. They leak their plans through their mouth, their fears through their posture, their jealousy through their tone. You're like trying to read a book with blank pages, no tells, no unnecessary reactions, no wasted motion. It's almost rude how unbothered you look sometimes, like life throws chaos at you and you respond with "noted" and go back to sipping your water. Half the time people expect you to snap, and instead you're mentally reorganizing the entire board while they're still arguing about who moved the first piece. It's funny, actually. They think you're quiet because you don't know what's happening. Meanwhile, you've already predicted the argument, the fallout, and who's going to apologize tomorrow. You're not behind. You're early. And that difference changes everything. Because when you stop reacting like prey and start thinking like a strategist, life stops feeling random. It starts feeling predictable. Patterns become obvious. Manipulation becomes boring. Drama starts looking like low-budget theater. You don't get impressed easily anymore. You don't get intimidated easily either. And without trying to, you develop something most people can't fake: composure under pressure. The kind of composure that makes people think, hold on, what does this person know that I don't? That's the energy this video is about. Not hype, not fantasy, not pretending to be special, but that quiet, calculated way you move through the world that makes people pause mid-sentence and rethink their strategy. The kind of mindset that doesn't chase the game because it already figured out how the game works. So if you've ever been told you're too calm, too unreadable, too observant, or my personal favorite, why are you just standing there like that? Congratulations. You weren't standing there doing nothing. You were collecting everything, and by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why the way you think feels different, why people underestimate you at first, and why, once they finally catch on, it's already too late to keep up. Let's break down what really happens when someone learns to play the game this cold. Number 1, you stopped reacting emotionally before most people even learned how to think. Most people don't actually think, they react. Something happens and boom, their emotions grab the steering wheel. Someone disrespects them, they snap. Something scares them, they freeze. Someone praises them, they melt. Their whole life is just reflexes dressed up as decisions. It's automatic, impulsive, predictable. You're different, and not in some cute or inspirational way. You're different because somewhere along the line, reacting stopped being safe for you. Maybe it was the environment you grew up in. Maybe it was betrayal. Maybe it was chaos. But you learned early that exploding, panicking, or wearing your heart on your sleeve came with consequences. So you adapted. You built a gap between what happens and how you respond. And that tiny gap changed everything. That pause you take, most people don't even know it exists. While they're already arguing, defending, over-explaining, or embarrassing themselves, you're still observing. You're watching tone, body language, timing. You're asking yourself what's really going on instead of jumping at the first emotional interpretation. By the time you speak, you're not reacting anymore. You're choosing. That's not normal behavior. That's controlled behavior. It's why you rarely say something you regret. Why you don't crumble easily under pressure. Why chaos doesn't scramble your brain the way it scrambles everyone else's. When things get intense, other people's thoughts get louder. Yours get quieter and sharper. That's the scary part. Stress makes you focused. Conflict makes you calm. Drama makes you analytical. People expect fire, and you give them ice. And because you don't give instant reactions, people struggle to read you. They can't tell if you're angry, hurt, or completely unfazed. That uncertainty makes them nervous. Humans trust predictability. You offer none. You're not cold because you lack feelings. You're cold because your feelings report to you, not the other way around. Most people are driven by their emotions. You drive yours. And that level of control, that's something most people never develop, no matter how old they get. Number 2, you don't chase wins. You engineer inevitabilities. Most people spend their lives chasing money, chasing respect, chasing opportunities, chasing people who barely notice them. It's exhausting to watch. They run hard, put in random effort, stay busy all day, and still end up shocked when things don't work out. Then they call it bad luck or bad timing. But the truth is simple. They never had a real plan. They were just hoping effort alone would save them. You don't move like that. You don't believe in rushing toward things blindly. You don't rely on hype or motivation or let's see what happens. That kind of thinking feels childish to you. If you want something, you don't chase it. You set it up. You quietly position yourself so the outcome becomes almost unavoidable. While other people are trying to kick doors open, you're checking where the hinges are weak. While they're arguing and proving themselves, you're building skills in the background. While they're announcing their goals out loud for validation, you're stacking advantages silently. By the time you make a move, it doesn't look dramatic. It looks obvious. And that's the difference. People think you're lucky because they only see the final step. They don't see the weeks or months of preparation, the observing, the learning, the small adjustments you made when nobody was paying attention. You don't gamble with your life. You reduce risk. You think ahead. You calculate. You ask yourself what could go wrong before it ever does. You build backup plans without even calling them backup plans. It's just how your mind works. So when the moment finally comes, you're not nervous like everyone else. You're ready. There's no scrambling, no desperation, no last-minute panic, just execution. That calm confidence unsettles people because they can feel it. You're not hoping things work. You already know they will, because you designed the situation that way. You don't rely on chance. You stack the odds so heavily in your favor that winning stops being exciting. It just becomes expected. And that's a completely different level of power. Number 3, you learn to gather information without people realizing they gave it to you. Most people talk too much. They reveal more than they should. They want to impress, explain, or justify. And in doing so, they hand over pieces of themselves like puzzle pieces to anyone willing to look. You notice this early. You notice that while people are busy performing, their real intentions, weaknesses, and fears slip out effortlessly if you pay attention. You don't ask direct questions. You don't interrogate. You don't even probe in a way that feels obvious. Instead, you let people talk themselves into revealing exactly what you need to know. You listen for tone, for hesitation, for little shifts in language. One word, one slip, one change in pace tells you volumes. Conversations become data, and you are always collecting. You know which words matter, which silences matter, and which reactions are hiding the truth. Most people believe they're guarding themselves, but you see right through it. They're convinced their masks are solid, but subtle tells betray them every time. They think no one is paying attention, while you are cataloging details that would take weeks for anyone else to notice. You don't push, you let the narrative unfold naturally. And because you never react the way others expect, people continue talking, unaware that they've handed you the entire blueprint of their mind. That skill doesn't just make you observant, it makes you untouchable. Manipulation, deception, and drama that would throw most people off balance barely register with you. You already know the patterns. You already know what's coming. And when you act, it's precise because your moves are based on raw, unfiltered intelligence you extracted quietly. By the time most people realize what they've said, it's already too late. You've processed, catalogued, and integrated the information into decisions and strategies that seem effortless. You didn't force it. You didn't rush. You simply knew how to watch, listen, and let life reveal its secrets. That ability to gather intelligence without anyone knowing you're doing it isn't a talent most people ever develop. It's a quiet mastery, and it makes you far more dangerous than anyone who relies on noise and reaction. Number 4, you mastered disappearing without physically leaving. Most people don't know how to be in a room without trying to matter. They need to be seen, heard, validated. They talk louder than necessary, laugh harder than necessary, share opinions nobody asked for just to prove they exist. It's constant broadcasting, constant look at me, constant noise. You don't do that. And that alone separates you. You figured out something early that most people never understand. Attention is exposure. The more visible you are, the easier you are to study, judge, target, and manipulate. So you learned how to dial yourself down without shrinking yourself. You can stand in the middle of a crowded room and somehow not pull any unnecessary focus, not awkward, not hiding, just neutral, controlled, low signal. People overlook you, and that's exactly how you like it. Because while they're busy performing for each other, you're free to observe everything. When you're not trying to impress anyone, your mind stays sharp. You catch side conversations. You notice who keeps checking their phone. You see who's faking confidence and who actually has influence. You pick up tension before it explodes. You spot alliances forming in real time. Invisible people see the most. Loud people miss everything. That's the trade-off most people never realize they're making. They choose attention and lose awareness. You choose awareness and lose nothing. What's interesting is that your silence doesn't come from insecurity. It's not fear, it's control. You're not quiet because you feel small. You're quiet because you don't feel the need to prove anything. That calm self-containment makes others uneasy. They can't read you, can't predict you, can't tell what you're thinking. And humans get nervous around what they can't measure, so they underestimate you. They assume you're passive, slow, not paying attention. Meanwhile, you've already mapped the entire room mentally. By the time something shifts, you're ready, because you were never distracted in the first place. You didn't disappear to hide, you disappeared to see. And that quiet, watchful presence gives you more control than the loudest person could ever have. Number 5, you don't trust first impressions. You trust time. Most people make judgments in seconds. They meet someone new and their brain shouts safe or dangerous, friend or enemy, and they act on it like it's law. They believe in the first glance, the first word, the first handshake. That's why they get blindsided constantly. People are full of masks, rehearsed lines, and tiny manipulations. First impressions are just that, impressions, not reality. You don't fall for that. You wait. You observe. You let time do the work others try to skip. You notice patterns, contradictions, and consistencies that only emerge after days, weeks, or months. Someone may smile perfectly in the first meeting, but you notice if the smile slips in a tiny, almost unnoticeable way when they're stressed. You notice the words they use over and over, the stories they tell themselves, the small inconsistencies that expose who they really are. By trusting time instead of instinct, you gain an advantage that most people never see coming. Where others act quickly and make irreversible mistakes, you gather real evidence. You let personalities, motives, and intentions slowly reveal themselves. You don't rush to label someone because the labels people use are usually lies. Either lies others tell or lies they tell themselves. You're not impatient, and you're not naive. You're calculating. You're waiting for reality to unfold. This patience makes you hard to manipulate. People who rely on charm, first impressions, or sudden authority are powerless against you. You've already seen past the surface, and the longer someone tries to impress you or control your perception, the more information you collect. By the time most people reveal their true colors, you're already 2 steps ahead. And the choices you make are based on truth, not guesses. You operate with clarity that most people can't even imagine. While everyone else is reacting to what looks shiny, exciting, or urgent, you're reading the underlying currents. You don't let appearances or initial emotions dictate your actions. You let patterns, consistency, and time dictate your understanding. And that makes you untouchable in situations where impulsive decisions get everyone else trapped. You don't trust first impressions. You trust reality, revealed slowly. And that is a level of perception that separates you from the rest. Number 6. You rarely explain yourself because explanation gives away leverage. Most people feel the constant need to justify themselves. They tell stories, clarify intentions, or argue their side because they're afraid someone will misunderstand them or judge them harshly. Every explanation leaks something, a thought, a fear, a weakness. Every over-explained detail is a thread that someone else can pull on to influence, manipulate, or control them. Most people don't realize that by trying to be understood, they're giving others power over their narrative. You don't operate that way. You've learned that saying less often communicates more. You speak when it matters, and when you do, your words carry weight because they're precise and intentional. You don't fill gaps with explanations, and that emptiness makes others uneasy. Humans are wired to distrust the unknown, and when you withhold unnecessary reasoning, people start projecting, guessing, and often revealing themselves in the process. This isn't about being mysterious for attention or creating intrigue. It's tactical. By not explaining, you control the flow of information. You decide what is seen, what is understood, and what is left ambiguous. People try to pin motives to you, and they fail because you don't volunteer them. Every unanswered question becomes a space where you operate undisturbed while others scramble trying to figure you out. Rarely explaining yourself also protects your mental energy. People constantly test boundaries, challenge decisions, or demand accountability. By keeping your reasoning private, you avoid unnecessary debates, emotional exhaustion, and leverage being used against you. Your decisions stand on their own merit. They don't require justification. That confidence, that refusal to over-communicate, signals strength in a way most people misinterpret. The most powerful part is this. When you finally do choose to speak or clarify, it lands like a statement of authority, not a plea for understanding. It's calculated. It's precise. By learning to resist the urge to explain, you create space for control, influence, and perception that no one else can touch. You aren't vague because you can't articulate. You're strategic because you know exactly what silence accomplishes. That discipline in communication is more than composure, it's dominance. Number 7. You read rooms faster than people read text messages. Most people enter a room and see only what's obvious. They notice who is talking loudest, who seems friendly, or who looks uncomfortable. They catch surface-level details and call that understanding. It's predictable, it's shallow, and it almost always gets them caught off guard. You don't operate on surface level, you scan deeper. Within seconds, you can sense the dynamics that everyone else takes hours, sometimes days, to notice. You pick up subtle power shifts, hidden alliances, unspoken tensions, and tiny inconsistencies in behavior that signal bigger intentions. You notice who is pretending to be confident and who actually holds influence. You see the gaps, the cracks, the unspoken hierarchies that shape the entire environment. People assume you're quiet because you're calm or uninterested. They're wrong. You're analyzing, you're calculating, you're mapping the terrain. Your eyes catch the details others ignore, who avoids making eye contact, who lingers near power, who waits silently but notices everything. Every gesture, pause, and expression tells you a story. Conversations, jokes, and interruptions become data points. You aren't judging people morally, you're decoding patterns. That skill turns ordinary spaces into information hubs. You see what people don't even know they're revealing. That ability is unnerving to others because they can't see it happening. They don't realize you're already processing the room, predicting what will happen next, and adjusting your own behavior accordingly. By the time most people understand the dynamics, you've already positioned yourself advantageously, either to avoid conflict, seize opportunity, or influence outcomes subtly. This kind of awareness doesn't come from being nosy. It comes from being disciplined and attentive when others are distracted by noise, ego, or impulse. While they react, you observe. While they judge, you analyze. While they try to impress, you learn. Reading rooms faster than people read text messages isn't just a skill. It's a form of quiet dominance. You're not loud, you're not aggressive, and you don't announce your knowledge. You simply move through spaces with clarity, understanding, and foresight that makes others feel off balance, unsure, and always one step behind. Number 8. You don't get addicted to praise, which makes you impossible to control. Most people live their lives chasing approval, compliments, recognition, likes, nods, attention. It becomes a constant craving. They adjust their behavior to earn it, over-explain themselves to get it, or compromise their values just to keep it flowing. That craving makes them predictable. Easy to influence, easy to manipulate. Praise becomes a leash, invisible but strong. You don't operate that way. Praise barely registers with you. You've been in situations where validation was scarce, inconsistent, or meaningless, and you learned not to rely on it. Approval doesn't drive your decisions. Fear of judgment doesn't control your actions. You've developed an internal standard that doesn't bend to applause or criticism. Because of that, no one can steer you with flattery or guilt. People who try to manipulate through praise quickly realize they have nothing to grab onto. That independence is rare, and it's unnerving to others. People are used to influence working through subtle hooks, emotional triggers, or validation. They expect a reaction when they flatter or praise. They expect you to be impressed or swayed. But when you remain unaffected, it throws them off balance. They don't know how to read you, how to motivate you, or how to anticipate your moves. That makes you hard to control in a way most people will never understand. Not being addicted to praise doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you strategic. You measure actions, intentions, and outcomes, not the applause that comes afterward. You make choices based on real factors, not on how they'll make others feel about you. That clarity makes you focused and untouchable. The world relies on people responding predictably to validation. You don't. You respond to reality, data, and strategy. That subtle detachment is a kind of power most people don't even recognize. It allows you to move freely, act decisively, and stay centered, no matter how others try to manipulate you emotionally. You don't get addicted to praise. You stay anchored, and that alone separates you from the masses. Number 9, you detach from outcomes faster than others detach from people. Most people tie their self-worth, energy, and sanity to what happens around them. If a project fails, a relationship sours, or a plan falls apart, they spiral. They replay events in their mind, obsess over every misstep, and let failure take weeks or months from them. Their emotions are glued to results, and it drains them constantly. You're different. Detachment isn't something you practice. It's automatic. You've learned to separate yourself from the chaos of outcomes without shutting down emotionally. When something doesn't go your way, you don't waste time drowning in disappointment. You analyze, extract lessons, and move forward with precision. The loss doesn't linger because you never allowed it to own you. You don't grieve outcomes. You harvest intelligence from them. Every setback becomes raw material to improve your strategy, not fuel for self-pity or blame. That kind of detachment gives you speed. While others replay mistakes, second-guess themselves, or beg for reassurance, you're already adjusting your approach, repositioning, and preparing the next move. You operate on timelines where emotional recovery isn't a barrier because you've learned to process internally before the world even reacts. You're not cold or careless. It's efficiency. It's clarity. You preserve energy for the moves that matter instead of burning it on regret, drama, or panic. Detaching from outcomes also makes you unpredictable. Most people act emotionally, so others can anticipate reactions and manipulate situations. You don't react the way they expect. You assess, calculate, and execute without letting the result define you. That leaves people confused, frustrated, and often exposed because they try to manipulate a response that never comes. While they are stuck in loops of anxiety or attachment, you operate in real time. Your calmness under pressure becomes your advantage, your foresight becomes your shield, and your detachment becomes a weapon. Losing or winning isn't the point. The point is mastery. And that mastery comes from knowing that nothing outside your control has the power to shake the control you hold inside. You detach from outcomes, and in doing so you move faster, see clearer, and strike harder than anyone who relies on attachment. Number 10, you instinctively conserve energy like a predator, not prey. Most people live in constant motion. They rush, overcommit, stress, and exhaust themselves chasing things that don't matter. Every small task becomes dramatic. Every conflict consumes unnecessary energy, and most of the time, they're reacting instead of acting. Life for them is a constant drain, and they barely notice it because they've never learned a different rhythm. You move differently. You conserve energy the way a predator does, quiet, calculated, patient. You don't throw yourself at situations blindly. You wait, you watch, and you strike only when it matters. Every action has weight. Every decision is intentional. You know when to move, when to observe, and when to hold back. This isn't laziness or indecision. It's precision. Wasting effort is dangerous because wasted effort exposes weakness, creates mistakes, and invites unpredictability. That kind of energy control makes you impossible to outmaneuver. While other people panic and spin in circles trying to fix problems, you're already in position, calm and ready. You don't react immediately to drama. You don't rush to fix conflicts that don't concern you. You don't exhaust yourself proving worth to people who don't matter. Every step you take is measured for maximum effect with minimum effort. It's also why people underestimate you. They see stillness or inaction and mistake it for weakness. They misread patience for passivity. Meanwhile, you've analyzed every detail, calculated the timing, and positioned yourself to act decisively when the moment arrives. One move from you can create consequences far beyond what anyone expects, because you've preserved energy for the exact moment it counts. This instinctual efficiency isn't taught. It's honed by experience, observation, and surviving in a world where impulsive energy often leads to failure. You conserve strength, attention, and focus. You don't waste time proving yourself. You don't chase validation. You act only when it matters, and the impact is disproportionate because others are still draining themselves on irrelevant noise. You don't just move through life. You glide with precision, striking only when the conditions are perfect. That instinct to conserve energy, to act like a predator, gives you a quiet dominance. Most people will never even recognize until it's too late. Number 11. You don't need crowds to validate your existence. Most people measure themselves by others. Friends, followers, colleagues, even strangers. Their approval, attention, or acknowledgement becomes the barometer for worth. They bend, adjust, and perform constantly to fit in, to be liked, to be accepted. Their energy depends on reactions, applause, or approval. That dependency shapes their choices, traps their potential, and keeps them predictable. You aren't like that. You operate from a different standard entirely. You don't need the nods, smiles, or compliments of a crowd to know your value. Solitude doesn't scare you, and being unseen doesn't make you feel small. You've learned to stand on your own, to make decisions that serve your purpose, rather than someone else's expectations. That independence changes everything. Because you don't seek external validation, you are untouchable in ways most people can't comprehend. No social pressure can bend your behavior. No manipulative tactic can sway your choices. When people try to control through praise, criticism, or exclusion, it doesn't work. You're already anchored internally. Your actions are guided by your principles, your strategy, and your awareness, not by what anyone else thinks. That self-reliance also makes you unpredictable. People expect reactions when they try to provoke, impress, or challenge you. They expect desperation for inclusion, fear of being ignored, or gratitude for acknowledgement. When you don't respond the way they anticipate, it throws them off. They can't read you, manipulate you, or control you easily. Your independence isn't arrogance, it's power. Living without the need for crowds to validate you allows you to move freely, think clearly, and focus energy where it truly matters. You don't compromise for attention. You don't conform for comfort. You don't chase approval because your existence is already complete within yourself. That makes your influence organic, your decisions precise, and your presence quietly commanding. While most people are tethered to the opinions of others, you operate untethered. You are sovereign over your own mind and your own choices. And that level of independence isn't just rare. It's a force that makes people uneasy without you ever having to raise your voice. Number 12. You don't need crowds to validate your existence. Most people define themselves by the opinions and attention of others. They crave approval, recognition, and acceptance, and they shape their actions around how people respond to them. Every like, every nod, every compliment becomes a measurement of worth. Their moods rise and fall with the reactions of the crowd, and their decisions are often dictated by what will earn applause or avoid criticism. That dependency keeps them predictable, limited, and constantly on edge. You don't operate like that. You've built a foundation that doesn't rely on anyone else noticing you or affirming your choices. You are comfortable alone. You don't seek validation, and you don't need it to feel complete. That independence allows you to move freely, make decisions without hesitation, and act in ways that others wouldn't dare because they're too busy worrying about perception. You exist on your own terms, and that makes you untouchable. Because you don't rely on others to validate your existence, you are impossible to manipulate through praise, flattery, or social pressure. People expect reactions, compliance, or at least some acknowledgement, and when you remain unaffected, it throws them off. They can't predict your moves, they can't pull on your emotions, and they can't control you through the approval you don't seek. That freedom makes your presence quietly commanding. People notice it even if they don't understand why. Living without the need for external validation also sharpens your focus. You don't waste energy impressing people who don't matter or trying to conform to expectations that limit you. You observe, assess, and act from clarity rather than emotion or pressure. Your decisions are precise, your influence is organic, and your strength grows silently, unseen by those who are still tethered to the opinions of others. While most people are constantly bending to fit the crowd, you move untethered, sovereign in your choices and actions. That freedom creates a quiet power that others feel immediately, whether they respect it, envy it, or fear it. You don't need crowds to validate you, and that makes you untouchable, unshakable, and fundamentally in control of your own life. Number 13. You think in probabilities, not fantasies. Most people live in a world of hope and wishful thinking. They say, "I hope this works out," or "I hope they like me," and they act as if hoping changes reality. They plan based on what they want to happen, not what is likely to happen. That's why they get blindsided so often. Their decisions are built on wishes, assumptions, and blind optimism. And when reality doesn't match their fantasies, they panic. You don't operate that way. You calculate. You assess situations based on likelihood, patterns, and evidence, not what feels good or what you wish were true. Every move, every decision, every interaction is measured against potential outcomes. You anticipate responses, weigh consequences, and prepare for variables that most people never even consider. Hope is not part of your strategy. Probability is. This mindset gives you an edge in every scenario. While other people react emotionally or impulsively, you move with foresight. You know that outcomes are rarely guaranteed, and that makes your actions smarter and safer. You don't gamble on chance. You stack the odds in your favor. You plan for the possibilities that are most likely to occur, not the ones you secretly want to happen. That's why your successes look effortless to outsiders. They see results, but they don't see the mental groundwork you laid to make those results almost inevitable. Thinking in probabilities also keeps you calm when chaos hits. When unexpected events occur, you don't freeze or panic. You adjust, adapt, and calculate your next move. You know that reality rarely unfolds according to plan, and that flexibility combined with preparation is far more powerful than blind hope. Most people operate reactively, living day to day as life happens to them. You operate proactively, using your understanding of probabilities to shape the world around you. You don't just guess or wish. You analyze, anticipate, and act in a way that turns uncertainty into advantage. That approach separates you from everyone else. It makes your decisions sharper, your timing precise, and your outcomes almost inevitable. You don't think in fantasies, you think in probabilities. And that mindset gives you power others can't even imagine. Number 14. You don't play the game to survive. You play it like a chessboard already solved. Most people play life as if they're scrambling just to stay in the game. Every move is reactive. Every decision comes with stress, panic, or guesswork. They try to manage crises, chase opportunities, or impress others without a clear strategy, hoping luck will carry them through. Survival dominates their thinking, and as a result, their actions are messy, predictable, and exhausting. You don't live that way. You operate on a level most people don't even notice. You don't scramble to survive. You move like someone who already sees the end before the first piece is placed. You anticipate, calculate, and act with precision because the path ahead is clear in your mind. You understand the rules, the patterns, and the weaknesses of those around you. While others flail in confusion, you navigate the chaos with purpose. Every interaction, every decision, and every action is part of a larger strategy you've already considered. You aren't improvising because improvisation is a luxury reserved for those who can't predict outcomes. You plan for possibilities, measure risks, and stack advantages silently. By the time others realize what's happening, the board is already in your favor. You don't need luck, panic, or frantic effort. Everything unfolds according to the logic you've quietly applied. That clarity makes you untouchable in ways people rarely recognize. While they overreact to setbacks, get frustrated by delays, or misread situations, you remain calm, adaptive, and ahead. They are trapped in a cycle of reaction. You are operating in a realm of control. Your foresight isn't arrogant, it's methodical. Your confidence isn't flashy, it's precise. People feel the difference intuitively, even if they can't name it. You don't just participate in life's games. You anticipate every move, counter every threat, and create conditions where outcomes favor you before the world even registers the plan. You play life not to survive, but to master. That level of strategic foresight, combined with patience and calm, separates you from everyone else. By the time people understand what's happening, it's already too late. The game is over, and you've already won. This is the way the truly untouchable move through life. Everything you've just learned isn't theory, it isn't hype. It's the blueprint of a mindset that turns ordinary survival into extraordinary strategy. You've seen how the difference isn't just in skill or talent. It's in the way you process, observe, and act. It's in stopping reactions before they start, gathering intelligence without anyone noticing, conserving energy while others waste it, detaching from outcomes, and converting pain into an edge. It's in moving unseen while knowing more than anyone around you, trusting probabilities over fantasies, and refusing to seek validation from crowds that have no power over you. All these elements combine to create something rare: control. Quiet, precise, almost invisible control. The kind of presence that doesn't need to dominate a room loudly to influence it. The kind of thinking that makes chaos predictable, mistakes irrelevant, and opposition powerless. Most people stumble through life reacting to circumstances they don't understand. You navigate life like a master has already mapped the board, seeing 3 steps ahead while others are still figuring out where the pieces go. That is power, and it's quiet, patient, and unshakable. The game of life isn't fair. It's filled with people who overreact, miscalculate, and waste energy. The difference between losing and winning isn't always resources or luck, it's mindset. The strategies we've broken down here give you an advantage that goes beyond opportunity or circumstance. They give you an edge in perception, decision-making, and execution that most people don't even realize exists. This is why some people feel off balance around you, why others underestimate you, and why the moves you make often feel effortless to the outside world. They're informed by knowledge, patience, and a perspective few ever cultivate. If you want to continue developing this kind of mastery, stay connected. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button to show support, leave a comment with your thoughts or breakthroughs, and share this with someone who needs to understand what real strategy looks like. Every step you take toward clarity, control, and precision compounds. Keep learning, keep observing, and keep moving like the master you are becoming. Your advantage is waiting. Don't let it go unnoticed. Stay blessed always.